Do you want a voice level from Ayrton, or are you happy?
No, I'm happy.
Camera's rolling while we go.
Okay. Ayrton, the beginning of the season, how did you feel after the events of the winter, going into the first race? Your thoughts as you arrived in Arizona?
It was a unique experience in my whole career for the obvious reasons after end of 89 season and a few months of winter. We had a lot going on, a lot of difficulties, and it had contributed only to demotivate me to continue driving. And after all, we decided to have a go again, and we went to Phoenix for the first race, for the opening race. But I found myself in a very, very uncomfortable situation where I didn't have motivation to drive. And since the reason I drive is my motivation, is the desire that is inside me to drive and to compete and to challenge for victories. If I didn't have those things, then I had no ingredients to put myself in the right manner, in the right state of mind in a car, in a racing car. So
how did you motivate yourself for the race?
I basically just did it by my instincts because I had no feelings for it at all. And I remember on the practice sessions of the race itself, I couldn't even understand what the car was doing, what was going on. It was almost impossible for me to concentrate and try to remember what was going on with the car. And I could only drive, basically. That I could do, really by my instincts more than anything. And of course, it was good enough to win. But it was probably a good way of starting. It was for sure a good way of starting a season, but on the other hand, it was the most sad victory I had in all my whole career, simply because there was no feeling at all. And therefore was in two extremes. Very good for starting a season like this, but very bad in that state of mind.
And having won that race, did it put you in a better frame of mind? And also the next race being in Brazil on your home
surely
track?
Winning that race only counted positively. But what really got me going again was to race in my country in front of all my Brazilian fans. There was a huge crowd in Brazil and they were all going for me, and that really got me going. I slowly through the weekend got involved in the atmosphere again and got motivated, and after that race, although I didn't win, I had all the necessary feelings back with me to restart the whole work again. So really, the season for me didn't start in Phoenix at all. It started after Brazil. And
when you arrived on the European circuits?
Then it was coming, just natural. Just growing, the motivation, the desire to do the work to my best together with the team and aiming for other victories and aiming for the championship. And it wasn't then a non-stop process, just progressively recovering all the feelings for it.
Which has been your best race this season as far as you feel?
I think I did a fantastic race in Mexico. And it was one of those places that I didn't expect to do well at all under the technical conditions of our car related to Ferrari and the circuit. And yet, we finally, just on the race day, managed to set up the car in such a way that I had it in my hands, the ability to fight and go for it. And I had a tremendous race, had done the whole hard work, and then I had a puncture, which took away completely the race result. But despite not winning, it was a beautiful race I did for myself. Other than that, it was a great race to win Monza, because we were in a crucial time of the championship, almost decision time. And again, there was so much pressure at that stage in the championship. Ferrari coming stronger and stronger. Being in Italy, can you imagine all the crowd, all the tifosi going mad about Ferrari and automatically against us. And it was difficult to handle, difficult psychologically to handle the atmosphere, the pressure, the people around, their behavior in many ways. And for me to have achieved pole position, the victory, the fastest lap, new lap record, it was perfect under the circumstances, and at the stage of the championship it was perhaps my best result, my best race of the year.
What about the difference between racing on a street circuit and a track? Do you, somewhere like Monaco, do you enjoy racing there?
Well, you see, Monaco is the most traditional racing in Formula One of all times. It has the most audience, the most number of people following it. And being a street circuit with so much history behind, both the technical aspect is a major challenge for you to do it right, to not hit the wall, to stay on the circuit, yet with no margin for error, and the challenge of doing well on such a glamorous place with so much history. So when you put both things together, to win Monte Carlo is a special victory. I won there first time in '87, almost won in '88, and then I won in '89, and I was fortunate enough to win again in 1990. And at that race, on the race day, in the evening, we were able to have a dinner with lots of people from the Formula One circus. And amongst them, the one that for me is the greatest of the greatest, Fangio. And I was sitting next to him, the dinner, and to share a few moments with such a man, not only because of his 5 titles, I never saw him racing, for instance, but a man that has so much knowledge, so much experience, like a real encyclopedia. It's fantastic. And I remember that when I went on the stage as the winner and I had to give few words, it just came natural from my heart to offer him that day that victory, because I really felt it.
The French Grand Prix was the success of the Leyden House a surprise to you?
Well,
one of the smaller teams coming up?
It was great to see it happening, because race after race you see always the same faces and the same cars, the same engines up in front. And sometimes unexpectedly, unusually, when you see something different happening, is good, because it changes a little bit the scene, and is good for the people who are fighting the whole time to get at least in the race. And sometimes if they can suddenly fight for a podium, it's beautiful. For the public is also a fact for more interest. And it was a beautiful race too. It was unexpected, but it was beautiful to see it happening.
And was it also unexpected in Phoenix with the success of Jornada at the beginning of the season?
Yes, to a certain degree. Not all, because it was a particular race again, and he drove it very well. He did a fantastic race. Thierry was in a position to give him a good car to perform. Pirelli tires also provide them with good tires on that circuit, on that day. And putting everything together, they performed very well. And it was again, I think, for the public, good to see somebody young and full of power and desire to do it, and challenging and overtaking, taking chances and demonstrating the sheer desire for winning. This is what motor racing is all about. We all want to win. There is only one winner, not only in a race but in a championship. But how you do it, how you achieve, and how it happens is what it's all about. And motor racing needs excitement. Motor racing, Formula One particularly, needs people that are prepared to challenge, to go for it, to fight, and to give a good show. And that was one good example of it. It was a beautiful show for everybody.
Do you think there are enough drivers that give a good show?
I'm sure we all try to do it. Some manage a bit more, some a little bit less. But in the end, we are the best 30 people in the world in motor racing, basically. Since Formula One is the pinnacle of motor racing. And most of us are there for the main reason, which is to win, to prove that we can do it, we can win. And some express it in a much more natural way, in a much more extraordinary and spectacular, and others don't. And I am much more in favor of those who give everything to it than those who just wait for opportunities and other people to go off or break down.
Who else would you put in that category besides LSE and yourself?
You have Berger, you have Mansell, you have a few other people who have a good car and then are able to put a show. Some others, unfortunately, don't have the equipment to demonstrate all their abilities. So they get almost unknown into it. Just time goes by, they don't get even noticed. But that's how it is. Until the day that they get opportunity, and they also will demonstrate their personality in driving.
Like Moreno, maybe.
Yeah, it's an example. He never had a proper opportunity, and when, for a sad reason, he had the opportunity to drive a good car, he did fantastically well. He proved that he is also competent and capable of doing a good job.
Was there any stage of the season that you felt you might not win the World Championship?
You never know. You never know that you're going to win a race when you're leading, even more a championship. It was a tough championship, long, very stressful. From the past few years, that was the year that I worked harder between racing and testing. But before the championship start, just looking at progress from different teams over the winter and from the end of last year. I tried to figure out what would take to win this year under normal circumstances. And I, quite early in the season, I could already predict that it was not a championship of only first places, but you need some second place and some third, because I was led to believe that different drivers, different cars would win the races. Therefore, you would have to count some points, not only 9 points, but 6, 4, maybe not 3 or 2. That was not enough in my mind, and I did state that early in the season, and it's good to confirm that it was the right strategy, the right prediction for a season before you're actually doing it, because that is after all also a challenge for you to understand where you are, how you should do, and what it takes to achieve your objective right from the beginning. And there were hard times halfway through, but we were able together as a team to pull together few special things and get some victories and some second places when we needed. And when we couldn't, we got third places, which would also count later in the season, as it has counted in the end. So it was tough. I never had sure that I would win until after Portugal. After Portugal, looking at it, only if things would go completely wrong and in a totally unusual way, we wouldn't win. And you have to think positive. And looking back the whole season, there was no way that would happen. It was only a question of time. And continue doing the same way that we've been doing the whole season. And it proved right.
Is there any particular track you find more of a problem than others? I mean, somewhere like Spain, do you find that a problem to drive on? Is it safe?
Well, there are circuits which are not the most exciting ones to drive, or the pleasant one to for drivers. Some of them are difficult for overtaking, like Spain or Hungary. It makes life so hard for us. And they contribute only for disagreements, because since the cars are so close together, so near in performance, and we fight so close throughout the race, in order to overtake, you have to go very hard and very near to each other. And eventually you end up touching or having an incident. And that is not so good, because only contributes to have some polemics, which for me is a waste of time. But they are part of the championship, and you have to cope with those situations in the best way possible.
Australia, what were your views on the race from yesterday?
Australia is one of the few races I haven't won in my career, together with Brazil and France. I've been near to doing it a few occasions, but always somehow something went wrong. Mechanical failure, or driver mistake, or bad conditions like a year ago in the rain when no visibility was there. And again was another weekend like this. We had a tremendous weekend again, dominating from the beginning. Was very nice to drive with the championship finish, so with no pressure on championship, just normal pressure trying to win a race. And I enjoy very much. I drove very natural, in a very relaxed manner. Some moments actually I had even to wind up myself a little bit to bring up the concentration. And on the race day itself, we had good start, good conditions, was very hot. And by those conditions, everything was on the limit. The brakes, the tires, the engine, including the driver, just about overheating. And being such a long race, it's been tough. We almost did it, almost right at the end, after the whole hard work had been done when you were just supposed to cruise around. Something went wrong, and I could not engage a gear in deceleration, and I went in neutral finally into that corner, and I couldn't control the car. And unfortunately that finished the race in not the best way, but it's not the last time and not the first time that I lose a race that was almost won. And I only have to learn from it, the experience as a whole, look forward to the future. There will be another Australian Grand Prix next year in Adelaide, so we will be trying again. And together with Brazil Grand Prix, with the French Grand Prix, is something new for me next year to go for, apart from another championship. So it's no problem. We'll be here next year, we will be trying again.
With a race like Belgium this year, when it was restarted 3 times, do you find it difficult to motivate yourself each time, or what do you do between the starts?
Well, very stressful. It's probably it was probably the most stressful race of the season, because we were involved in the atmosphere itself of sitting in the car, preparing, getting ready for the start, which is the moment that you get more intense, more anxious and nervous. We had to do it 3-4 times. 1, twice, 3 times, was going forever. And I couldn't believe after the first time, because 1 is enough. Then we go for the second, and we go again for the third. One stage I wished to just get out of the car and go away, not even bother for the next one, because it was just tremendous to put yourself together at every time the same way, go through the same procedures, and your heart just going, your adrenaline going. It was too much. But again, it proved to be a determined race result for the championship. Under the circumstance, that day, a victory like we achieve, it means a championship. It reflects the level of commitment and concentration and desire to win. And in the end, it was a beautiful day for me.
Does it feel more of a victory after a race like that when you have?
Sure. When the difficulties are greater, the pleasures are also greater after when you achieve it.
Mm. And what about with Martin Donnelly's accident, when something like that happens? How is it difficult for drivers to motivate themselves to get back in the car? Or?
Mm. Well, by definition, our activity, motor racing, is dangerous. It's dangerous. And every time we go into a racing car, either racing or just testing or driving around, you are exposed to risks. You are exposed to danger. Some of it is calculated risk, and some of it is unexpected situations. And it is important for us as hall drivers, not for me particularly, but everybody, to keep always alert, state of alert with ourselves. in order to read the situations and the problems as they are present to us when we're driving, and react properly, accurate and correctly, in order to preserve ourselves, not only from getting hurt, but also our lives. I particularly am very competitive, very determined, and by having a good car, competitive car, I'm always fighting for a victory. I'm always up there in front, fighting with my top colleagues for a victory. So I'm more exposed to those situations than anybody. By starting in the first row most of the time or on pole positions, you are the focus of the attention, and you are with the biggest responsibility of performing. And this is not easy. And when you face a situation like Donelly's accident during a qualifying session, where by a miracle he escapes alive, and I happen to see it close with my eyes, the state of it afterwards, and his conditions and so on, when the practice was stopped, it makes you really wonder if is it really worth doing it, and why you're really doing it, why every time you're going to the car and exposing yourself to danger. And it's difficult to find the answer, a precise answer, like a black and white situation. Nevertheless, some of the feelings that we get from driving, from competing, we don't get in anything else in life. Some of it, I'm sure, the pure fact that we know we are exposed to danger and risks, and we cope with it better than many people, or people that just have a normal life, becomes a challenge, becomes a pleasure in a way, to know that you are controlling your own feelings over very difficult moments, dangerous moments, where the self-control is more important than anything else. And when you are present in such a sad situation like with Donelly, to go back to the racing car and still do it, and do it well, it is tough, it is hard, it is almost like a aggression to your own nature, to your own self-preservation feelings. But it's a way of learning about you, and it's a way of making yourself better, stronger. And I wish nothing had happened with Donelly, and I hope we don't face situations like this in the future. But as it happened, it was tremendous for me to be able to go back to the car afterwards, even against my own fundamental feelings, and do it. And things like this, in a way, keep you going on and on, pushing yourself further and further to limits and to situations that before you actually face them, you never believe you could cope and act and react in such a way. So it is a non-stop process of getting to know yourself better.